On July 9th, 1896, presidential candidate William Jennings Bryan gave his famous Cross of Gold speech at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. The 36-year-old former congressman from Nebraska aspired to be the Democratic nominee for president, and he skillfully built support for himself among the delegates. In his rousing speech that night, Bryan advocated the inclusion of a silver standard for the United States currency, which rallied the populist base of the Democratic Party. Bryan argued that the Democratic Party's focus on bimetallism in its platform was justified because a gold standard alone could not solve the country's problems at the time, including debt, small business failure, and monopolies. According to Bryan, if silver was restored, all other necessary reforms will be possible. Bryan concluded his speech with the now famous line, "You shall not press down upon the brow of labor this crown of thorns. You shall not crucify mankind upon the cross of gold." Bryan won the Democratic nomination the following day on the fifth ballot. A clear partisan divide in the election of 1896 centered on the bimetallism debate. Republican candidate William McKinley blamed the Democrats and their platform of bimetallism for the current economic depression that began in 1893. Republicans and Eastern banking interests called the gold standard sound money policy. Bryan favored a regulatory role for government in issuing money and called for banks to go out of the governing business. The issue was whether to endorse the free coinage of silver at a ratio of silver to gold of 16:1. The Panic of 1893 deeply affected every sector of the economy and produced political upheaval that led to the political realignment of 1896 and the presidency of William McKinley. The push for a return to the silver standard was precipitated when Congress passed the Coinage Act of 1873, which effectively ended bimetallism by eliminating the silver dollar and by making gold the only metallic standard. Bryan argued that returning to silver would increase the amount of money in circulation and aid cash-poor and debt-burdened farmers, who termed the Coinage Act as the crime of 1873. The source of bimetallism issue began with the gold rush in 1849, which altered the status quo. For decades, both gold and silver backed U.S. currency, and both silver and gold specie could be turned into sub-treasury mint for dollars. The government valued silver at a ratio of 16:1 to gold in ounces. With the flood of gold to the market following the gold rush, people could sell their silver privately and to foreign markets at a lower ratio, thus making more money. However, when silver was discovered in Nevada in the 1860s, the ratio of gold to silver sold privately or abroad increased, but the government continued to offer the 16:1 ratio. In short, the government policy increased currency circulation, benefiting Westerners, rural farmers, and the poor, who could more easily pay off debts and make purchases. Meanwhile, Wall Street and banks in the East mobilized against the government's policy because they would not receive as much profit on loans to farmers and the poor. In the end, big money and the lobbyists got their way with the passage of the Coinage Act of 1873.